Hello, dear followers. I'm Dr. Emily Carter, your specialist in health, wellness, and natural medicine. Today, I'm going to share with you information that could completely change the quality of life for many people, especially those over 60. Did you know there's an essential vitamin that may be directly related to your memory capacity, and that 83% of older adults suffer from a deficiency of this vitamin without even knowing it? That's right, I'm talking about vitamin D, known as the sunshine vitamin, but which goes far beyond bone health as many people think. If you or a family member is over 60 and has noticed increasing difficulties remembering names, where you left objects, or important appointments, pay close attention to what I'm sharing today. It's impressive how most doctors focus only on cholesterol and blood pressure during routine checkups, completely ignoring such an essential nutrient that protects our brain from accelerated aging. Let's start by understanding what really happens in our body. Vitamin D, frequently associated only with bone health, has revealed itself to be crucial for neuronal protection. Did you know that? Recent research from Tufts University demonstrates that this vitamin acts directly on brain receptors that regulate cognition, mood, and memory. Fascinating, isn't it? When vitamin D levels are adequate in our body, it reduces neuroinflammation and protects against the degradation of synaptic connections, precisely the process that intensifies after age 60 and can lead to serious memory problems. The problem is truly alarming. Scientific studies show that more than 80% of people over 60 have a deficiency of this vitamin. And most surprisingly, even living in sunny countries, the majority of older adults have insufficient levels. You might be wondering, how is this possible with so much available sunshine? The answer lies in our own aging process. The skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D decreases dramatically, about 70% after age 60. This means that even with regular sun exposure, older adults may not be absorbing the necessary amount of this important vitamin. Let me tell you the story of one of my patients to better illustrate this situation. Carlos, a 68-year-old retired engineer, began to notice worrying lapses in his memory. Names of people he knew simply disappeared from his mind during conversation. Important appointments were forgotten, and his concentration progressively decreased each day. His family members began to notice frequent mood changes, something that had never been characteristic. Carlos told me, "I was always the one who remembered all the birthdays, phone numbers, and project details. Suddenly it seemed like my mind was full of fog. I began to fear the worst." Can you imagine his desperation, thinking he might be developing some type of dementia? During our consultation, in addition to traditional examinations, I requested an analysis of his vitamin D levels. The result was surprising. Carlos had only 12 ngMOL, when the ideal for brain protection is above 40 ngMOL. That's right, less than a third of the value considered adequate for brain health. This discovery completely changed our therapeutic approach. Have you ever checked your vitamin D levels? Most people have never had this test, despite the vital importance of this nutrient. Now, let's talk about practical solutions for this common problem. Vitamin D can be obtained in 3 main ways, and it's important to know each one to ensure adequate levels in your body. The first and most natural is sun exposure. Ideally, you should expose your arms and legs to the sun for 15 to 20 minutes daily, preferably before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. without sunscreen during this short period. However, as I've mentioned, it's important to remember that after age 60, the skin produces much less vitamin D even with adequate exposure. Do you have the habit of getting regular sunshine? The second source is foods rich in vitamin D, although it's difficult to obtain significant amounts through diet alone. The best foods in this regard are fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and tuna, egg yolks, shiitake mushrooms, especially when exposed to the sun before consumption, beef liver, and dairy products fortified with vitamin D. How many times a week do you consume these foods? For most people, the answer is very rarely. And that's why we come to the third option, which for many older adults is the only truly effective way to achieve optimal levels: supplementation supervised by a healthcare professional. In Carlos's case, we started a supplementation of 5,000 IU daily under my guidance, in addition to including 2 weekly servings of fatty fish in his diet. He also adopted the habit of taking morning walks, exposing his arms and legs to the sun for 20 minutes. Can you imagine the results he could achieve with this simple change in his routine? The transformation that occurred in Carlos's life was truly remarkable. In 6 weeks, I began to notice subtle differences. I remembered where I had left objects, could follow conversations without getting lost, and started remembering names easily again, he reported enthusiastically during our follow-up consultation. After 3 months following the recommended protocol, his vitamin D levels reached 52 nmol, well within the ideal range. Not only had his cognition significantly improved, but also his mood and energy. Follow-up examinations showed a reduction in brain inflammation markers, a clear indication that we were on the right track. Carlos told me emotionally. The most impressive thing was realizing that something as simple as a vitamin could make such a difference. My family noticed it even before I did. They said I had returned to being myself. Isn't it incredible how a single nutrient can have such a profound impact on a person's quality of life? And don't think I'm just talking about isolated cases or based solely on my clinical experience. Current science has impressive results on this topic. Studies published in the respected Journal of Alzheimer's Disease demonstrate that people with adequate levels of vitamin D have 53% less risk of developing cognitive impairment. That's right, a reduction of more than half the risk. Vitamin D acts as a potent neuroprotector, preserving the integrity of connections between neurons and reducing the accumulation of toxic proteins in brain tissue, which are precisely the mechanisms behind memory loss associated with aging. But what should you do now with all this information? If you're over 60 or know someone in that age range, the first step is to ask your doctor for a specific test called 25-hydroxyvitamin D. This is the standard test to evaluate vitamin D levels in the body. Many people don't know, but the ideal value for brain protection is between 40 to 60 mg/ml, not just the 30 mg/ml frequently considered normal by many laboratories. This difference may seem small, but it's crucial when we're talking about neurological protection. An important warning: vitamin D is fat-soluble, which means it's stored in adipose tissue and not simply eliminated by the body, as occurs with water-soluble vitamins. Therefore, supplementation should always be supervised by a qualified healthcare professional. Excessively high doses can be harmful, while insufficient doses won't bring the neuroprotective benefit we're seeking. Balance is fundamental. Based on the most recent scientific studies and my clinical experience with hundreds of patients, I can state with conviction, maintaining adequate levels of this frequently forgotten vitamin can be the difference between healthy or accelerated brain aging. It's a simple, relatively inexpensive, and extremely effective measure to preserve our cognition as we age. Are you already taking the necessary care with your brain health? Something I find fascinating about this topic is how small changes in our routine can have such a significant impact on our future quality of life. Imagine being able to prevent memory problems, improve your mood and daily energy, just by ensuring adequate levels of a vitamin that often goes unnoticed in traditional medical evaluations. Isn't it incredible the power we have in our hands when we arm ourselves with the right knowledge? In addition to the direct benefits for memory and cognition, adequate vitamin D levels are also associated with better immunity, reduction of chronic inflammatory processes, improvement in cardiovascular health, and even sleep quality. It's a true domino effect of benefits for overall health. For those already facing memory problems, it's important to emphasize that vitamin D supplementation is not a miraculous solution that will instantly reverse all symptoms. However, it can be a fundamental part of an integrated approach to slow the process of cognitive decline and significantly improve quality of life. I always recommend an approach that combines proper nutrition, regular physical activity, cognitive stimulation, and when necessary, targeted supplementation like vitamin D. Many of my patients report significant improvements within 2 to 3 months after beginning to correct their vitamin D levels. It's a relatively short period when we think about the long-term benefits, and most interestingly, almost all mention that no other doctor had even mentioned the importance of this vitamin for brain health previously. This shows how there is still an important gap in conventional medicine when we talk about prevention and an integrative approach to health. If you're watching this video and identified with any of the symptoms I mentioned, don't waste time. Talk to your doctor about the possibility of checking your vitamin D levels and starting appropriate supplementation if necessary. Your brain will thank you in the future, and you'll be able to enjoy longevity with much more quality and independence. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when we talk about health. Share this video with family and friends who could benefit from this information, especially those over 60 or who already show some concern about their memory. Together, we can create a more aware and healthy community. I deeply appreciate your attention up to this point. If you liked this content, don't forget to leave your like, share with those who need this information, and subscribe to the channel to receive more videos like this one. Also, leave in the comments if you've already checked your vitamin D levels or if you know someone who improved after correcting this deficiency. In the next episode, I'll reveal other essential nutrients that neurologists rarely mention, but that can protect your brain for decades. Don't miss it. This is Dr. Emily Carter, always committed to your health and well-being in an integral way and based on the most recent scientific evidence. A big hug, and until the next video.